Good afternoon, everyone from ASA. Thanks for joining us this afternoon to talk about Skillsroad, one of the exciting things we've got to offer in terms of our offer to clients when we're working with them in the apprenticeship and traineeship space. This afternoon, we're expecting people to come in across the country from WA, from South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland. So welcome to everyone, and thanks for taking the time this afternoon to sit in with us and have a really good look at Skillsroad. Some of the features of Skillsroad, what it's offering to employers, what it's offering to apprentices, and what it's offering to people who are looking for work. And yeah, we're lucky enough to have Danielle Buckley with us this afternoon. Danielle's a coaching psychologist, and Danielle's been very much involved in the development of Skillsroad over 7 years now. It has been a work in progress, getting us to the point where we are now. It's been about gathering information to become a very useful source of information for people who are leaving school, people who are moving into apprenticeships and work or traineeships. A great resource for our employers when you think about the fact that what is being offered on Skillsroad is a free service for employers. Not only the fact that they can use the jobs board to advertise their roles for free, but the fact that there's a lot of tests and resources that are available for our employers to use so that we end up with a better outcome in terms of engaging more people into apprenticeships and traineeships, which is our job every day, as we know. But the other key thing for us is about retaining apprentices and employees, and we know that retention has been an issue for us over the years. And when we talk to Danielle and we find out about some of the science that exists in some of the tests, the real key to that is making sure that we end up with the right people in apprenticeships and traineeships from the outset. Because if we do get the right people in, chances are they'll stick with the apprenticeship or the traineeship. And as we know, our income is driven by the fact of having those apprentices stay with their apprenticeship over a period of time. So it's very much about our business model. Not only the fact of all the good things it does in helping people find a career that works well for them, and also our employers are getting what they need in having a workforce there that can help them to build and to do what they need to do in their organisations every day. So Danielle, thanks for joining us this afternoon. It's really great. Danielle was involved very early on and she's back in doing some consulting work for us now and really is going to give us the insight into Skillsroad and some of the tests and what she's done in building what is there now. So please, as we work our way through the slides today, feel free to send through any questions that you might have. So pretty much just treat it as if it's a training workshop this afternoon. If you've got any questions at all, please send them through. Gillian will send them through to us and then we can address them as part of the workshop. So make it work for you. If there's something you're not sure of, if you're relatively new to ASA, yeah, just make sure that you are really clear on it because today's a good chance for you to get a really good understanding. When we compete in today's market, we are competing in a very fierce competitive marketplace. And rest assured that Skillsroad is one of the key things that makes us very different to other employers, other providers. You know, we should be offering Skillsroad to our employers every day when we are out on the road talking to employers because of all the benefits that it adds, and also encouraging people to engage with Skillsroad, school leavers and the like, so that they're getting the very best information they can. And I'm just hearing from Audrey that you're not hearing me very well, so we're having a look at that. Yeah, so you can be getting the best information to people who are school leavers so they can make good decisions and then think about their development and where they're taking their career. So Danielle, we might start by looking at Skillsroad and some of the components that are within Skillsroad, understanding that everyone that's dialing in today is in a role where they are going to be promoting Skillsroad to employers. So let's start from the beginning. What are we going to cover today?
Thanks, James. So we're going to go through some of the background to Skillsroad, and I think it's important that we understand why we've created the tools that we've created. And I want to describe a bit of the psychology that sits behind the tools and why we know this works. So getting into the approach we use and some of the benefits that we've seen. But I also want to take everyone through the tools on Skillsroad, how they can use them in their role, but also how they can coach and guide employers through the different tools. And today we're going to look at the career quiz, the job fit test, the resume builder, the jobs board, some induction tools, and some tools for coaching and mentoring. Before we do begin though, I'm really curious to know, just so we can gauge, who uses Skillsroad at the moment with their clients? So if you can fill out that poll if you haven't done already, yes, no, or unsure. So we've got almost a relatively equal split, changing as we go. So some people, about half, 50% do, 36%, 34 do not, and a few people are unsure. What tools do you use the most if you're someone that does use Skillsroad? If you can let us know. What tools do you use the most? The second poll, which will be coming up any second. Okay, so a few people use the career quiz, a few the job fit test, the jobs board, a couple one with induction, and a couple of coaching and mentoring. Okay. Thank you for your participation. And as James said, there is a chat box down in your bottom left-hand corner. So if you have any questions throughout these, please send the questions in and we will answer them as we go along. Just to give you a bit of background, and I've just been told that this is slightly out of date, but we now have over 130,000 members on Skillsroad, and that's split all the way across Australia. Membership by state, New South Wales is the biggest state, but what we're starting to see, the more and more webinars and talks that we're doing, this is just continuing to grow. The top tools as of March was the career quiz. So we had over 67,000 young people complete the career quiz. The job fit test, we had over 16,000 completed. And the jobs board now, Julian can let us know that we have roughly over 200 jobs per month being advertised on there. And 3,000, more than 3,000 employers have now posted jobs. And these are all entry level and apprenticeship and trainee jobs. So we know that this formula works and we know there's great face validity and content validity with these tools. And I want to take you a little bit I want to talk to you a little bit about the background, particularly with the development of the career quiz and the job fit test.
I might just jump in there, Danielle, if I can. If you think about it, we've got 130,000 people that are members of Skillsroad. So in essence, that could well be 130,000 candidates for jobs that our employers could be tapping into if they were using Skillsroad appropriately. So yeah, lots of reasons there just within those stats just to suggest that our employers should be really engaging with Skillsroad. You're going to take us through more of the background now, so I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, thanks, James. I guess one of the key points to start is what we're trying to do is get young people to move away from this idea that they need to have a job and start thinking about the career they want to have and the things that they're interested in. And when it's come to the development of the career quiz and the job fit test, we've really taken a psychological approach. And when we think about the reason why people do things, and particularly if we think about our life in general now, positive and coaching psychology says we can really live one of two lives. We can live a goods life, so a life where you purchase happiness. So people would think that life is meaningful and happy. People are happy if they're successful, if they have money, if they have possessions, if they have the right image. And typically, when we pursue this lifestyle and we work towards goals that we call extrinsic goals. So we do things for controlled reasons. We might do things because if we're a student, mum or dad said we have to get this type of job, or we might do things because this is what's trending on social media at the moment, or because this is what our friends are doing. So for example, I work hard at school because my parents expect me to do well. Secondly, there's the good life. So the good life is when we live our life according to our values. People who live a good life pursue a life where they feel autonomy, they feel competence, and they feel relatedness. So this means they feel in control of their life, they go to work and they do things that they're actually good at, and they have positive relationships in their life. People who live a good life live a life where they play to their strengths. They have meaning, they have passion, they have purpose. If we were a student and we worked towards an intrinsic goal when it came to school, we might work hard at school because we love learning. Whereas if we were in an apprenticeship, we might work hard in our automotive apprenticeship because we love cars. And it's important that we start to understand this. And if we think about the way we developed the career quiz and why we developed a quiz where we're trying to understand what motivates young people, we really need to understand what young people's intrinsic goals are. What are their values? What are they working towards? If we want to get them into apprenticeships and traineeships where they're going to be successful. Because we all know people only change when it's in their best interest to do so, but we work hard and we excel at things that we are good at, that we are interested in, that we are motivated by. Equally, if you look at the research between having an extrinsic focus, so a life where we focus on the good things, versus an intrinsic goals and intrinsic behaviour, so doing things because we're motivated by it and we want to do it. When we focus on extrinsic values and extrinsic goals, our well-being is diminished. We have low levels of vitality. We have high levels of depression and anxiety. We have low quality of life, low life satisfaction. We're just not as happy. We have less positive emotions. We have more alcohol and drug use, and we have higher levels of narcissism, which the research says is actually growing with this young generation anyway. So in the development of, first of all, the career quiz, we can see that focusing and putting kids in apprenticeships, traineeships, because people have told them to do it, actually is really detrimental to their likelihood of success. So these tools have started to be, that we've been developing, have really got this psychological framework in mind where we're trying to understand who these young people are, what their strengths, their motivations and their interests are. We know that about 50% of kids who leave school don't know what they want to do. So getting them onto Skillsroad and using this as particularly a recruitment tool to begin with is really going to increase the likelihood that they're successful in the role that they go into.
Great, Danielle. Thank you for that. We're going to move on and talk about what's working for young people at work. But we've got a question from Sue-Ann Brady. What is the follow-up of the jobs being posted and the success and the conversion to sign up for us? That's a really good question, Sue-Ann. I don't think I've got the numbers or the stats to be able to answer that for you today, but I'll definitely come back to you with an answer on that one. It's fair to say that posting jobs on Skillsroad is in its early days, and to see that we've got 200 jobs a month going on to Skillsroad there at the moment is a very good sign that we're getting employers to engage in putting jobs on the jobs board for free. I guess where we struggle sometimes is if we've got candidates but we don't have the jobs, then it's not seen as a good match. So our role in encouraging employers to actually list jobs on the job site will actually help to match up with the candidates that we have in Skillsroad who are looking for work. And so we've all got a responsibility in doing that when we're out talking to employers, in encouraging them to use the jobs board so that we do have the jobs available there when people are going through the tests that Danielle's taking us through to see that there are opportunities in key areas. So there is definitely a conversion sign-up rate for us, and I do know there's some tracking and retention that happens within the marketing team, but in terms of actual stats, don't have them right now, but I'll definitely be back to you on that one. Thanks for the question, and please send through any other questions that you might have as they come to mind. Moving on now to say, well, what's not working for young people at work, Danielle, and we'll have a look at these slides.
Well, before we get into the career quiz, for those of you who focus on like the technical side of things and fit the box of analysts will know the completion rate is not 50%. But it has hovered around the 50% mark for quite some time now, which really isn't good enough. So we don't want to have a completion rate that low. We want our completion rate to be higher. And when the research we've dug in, and there's been a number of PhDs and government papers now that have identified why the low retention rate, the key reason is interpersonal relationships. So young people not getting along with their boss, co-workers, not liking the work and changing careers. And all of you on the line today will know this better than anybody else. So I guess one of the main things that we need to start thinking about is getting the right person into the job where possible, when we can. And that's really been the thinking with developing the career quiz and then the job fit test.
Danielle, Peter Gilchrist has sent through a question which is probably going to be answered in the next few slides, but I'll leave it to you to answer that when you get to it. Does the questioning use personality types to influence career options? And yeah. Thanks, Peter.
Yes, so thanks, Peter. So when we started with the career quiz, the career quiz has been designed based on Elias Porter's relationship awareness theory. So the relationship awareness theory has found that typically we have four motivational styles. And if we think about the way that we behave, our behavior almost is like an anchor that sits at the bottom of the ocean. We have a long piece of string attached to the buoy at the top, and we can exhibit a number of behaviors, but basically those behaviors stem from a core motivational style. The motivational styles that we've identified are, first of all, we've given the name the driver. So the driver is somebody, and maybe you can think about your team right now. The driver is somebody who's sitting in your business meeting and just wants to see results, just wants to get to the bottom line and just wants to get the job done. The second motivational style is the carer. This is a person in your team who's motivated by other people. They're motivated by relationships. They're the person in that business meeting that cares most about making sure everybody's feeling okay and everybody's happy with the results that you're coming across. And then there's the analyst. So the analyst is that person who cares about detail, who's a technical expert, who's motivated by making sure processes are done precisely and properly. The fourth motivational style is the adapter, and that's a hybrid of all the other styles put together. But equally can be frustrating to some other styles because they might hop between the few to see which they're most motivated by, depending on a situation. Now, what the career quiz does is it asks a series of questions, scenario-based questions, where it gives young people a motivational style. And it gives them a style because, as we know, young people, around 50%, they're saying young people, are not motivated or don't know what it is they want to do when they leave school. The purpose of understanding their motivational style means we've then mapped a series of industries or careers or jobs that might be suitable for that person. Now, this is not black and white. This is not saying, okay, so if you're a carer and you're motivated by relationships, you're not going to be suitable to being an accountant. But it's literally a starting point that's based on understanding what that person's strengths, interests, and motivations might be. So in answer to Peter's question, does the questioning use personality types? It uses a motivational style because based on the literature, we know, again, coming back to those intrinsic behaviours, we know that's where people are most likely to succeed if their motivational style is matched to the role that they have. James, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on how we could be using the career quiz with the different people that our field people are engaging with every day. When you think about the types of people who would be interested in the career quiz, it's definitely going to be your careers advisors at school who are, meeting with kids every day who are struggling to work out which way they go. We know that there's been a big uptake with our careers advisors when we go to schools and a particular interest in that career quiz space. The other area that you might be able to promote the career quiz is through parents. Often parents are, a little bit dumbfounded if they've got some kids that can't actually get off the couch and do something. So, but because they're sort of a little bit hamstrung with not sure which way to go, the career quiz can be a really good way of actually helping their kids to delve into themselves and find out a bit more about what their strengths are and where they are best suited in going forward. So when we see Skillsroad, it's definitely a package of all these tools that come together. Some are more valuable for possible apprentices and trainees. Some are more valuable for employers. In terms of the career quiz and the seminar we ran this morning, we were talking to employers about encouraging their candidates to do the career quiz and bring it along to an interview so that they could have some really good conversations about the strengths and weaknesses that person is showing through the tests. Now, that's not a way to stop employing someone, it's just giving employers more information, and with more information, they'll make better decisions, and better decisions will mean a better program and people staying in apprenticeships for a longer time. So we're now moving into the job fit test, Danielle.
So the job fit test really is designed to be a natural progression from the career quiz. So the career quiz gives people their motivational style and suggests some jobs or some industries that they might be suited to. What the job fit test then does is expands on that. So when you open up the job fit test, you can choose and you can pick up to 5 an industry and a role that you are curious about. And what it then does is, bearing in mind this idea of making sure we have young people who prescribe to intrinsic goals and things that they're motivated by and they're interested in. It asks a series of questions where young people have to identify how suitable they are to that job. And it asks questions not about their talent, but about their strengths, their motivations, and their interests. And then at the end of completing that, and it only takes a minute or two, they're given a percentage score about how suitable they are to that role. Following on from that, it gives them a series of development points to identify what that young person can do to increase their suitability. So if someone might only be 20%, they'll get a series of bullet points and they'll get a lovely little graph that says they're 20%. And there's a series of points then that identifies the things that they can go away and do. So it might be getting work experience, learning more about point X, practicing their communication skills by doing X, Y, and Z. So it's actually really, really prescriptive in what they can go away and do. And again, the point of having these development points is twofold. So first of all, we want employees to have a really good understanding of how suitable someone is for that role. And just because a young person might only be 20 or 30% suitable actually doesn't mean they're not going to end up being a good employee. A lot of employers that we speak to say, I'm happy for someone to have no experience because I want to train them. And then they can use these bullet points to then go away and they know what they need to focus on in that first critical 6 to 12 months of development. A lot of employers have said, we don't know what it is we need to focus on from a soft skills side of thing, and this provides those options. Equally, you might look at someone, or your employer might look at someone that hasn't done maths, and maths is critical, and he's not interested in using their hands, and might only be 10% suitable to a role. And for that employer, they might think, well, you know what? Based on this, I'm not prepared to hire this sort of person in my business at this time. So the job fit test is all about assessing how fit someone is and how suitable someone is for a specific role identified. We've got about 350 jobs on there at the moment, but we are looking to increase this. So if you do it, or any students that do it, any apprentices that you've got that have completed it, and their roles that they're looking for are not on there, I'd really ask that you let us know so that we can incorporate this in the next phase of our development.
So again, Danielle, a really excellent tool for employers, not only to assist them in making decisions when they employ candidates, but also for employers who've got a candidate. They might be having a few issues with regards to performance and how they're tracking at work. The job fit test could be a really good way for a conversation to start between the employer and the apprentice to actually overcome some of those things with a greater understanding of what's going on for the person. So definitely.
So there is a job fit test, just some of the top careers. Is a nice bit of general knowledge of what people are interested in. The electrician, a general electrician, has still been the top career that people are putting in and is most searched. So this is also interesting for us because we can get a good understanding of what people are searching for. And again, that can inform the areas that we expand. We collect a lot of data on Skillsroad, but the reason we collect the data is so we can be led by what our users want and what our users are going back to, and also what they're not going back to, has really helped to inform the development of Skillsroad. The next part that,
I might just jump in there too, sorry. Just one other point to note is that as a provider, we actually are funded for people who come in through gateway services. So encouraging people to think about their careers and their future. Actually, by conducting the job fit test and the career quiz, we actually are starting to collect information which we can then use to claim some funding that we've given that we get from the government to actually satisfy our gateway numbers in that area. So not only is it an awesome service using those two quizzes for employers and for apprentices, but it also helps us in satisfying our requirements that we have with the government in the targeted services area to provide information to potential apprentices who are questioning where they might want to go into the future, and then that can lead to more career advice, and that can be delivered by our mentoring team. So I just thought I'd jump in there with that one. So yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. And again, with the recruitment tools, the job fit test and the career quiz, nobody else offers this. This really is a standalone feature. And the message we're giving to employers is this is your recruitment process. Use this. So we're getting employers to get potential hires to complete the career quiz and complete the job fit test to understand the suitability of that candidate into their business. And I guess this is really, it's new stuff in that we're really trying to encourage employers to be informed by science in the way that they recruit. Because if we are passionate about getting higher levels of retention and better commencements, we need to take a scientific approach. And, while we still want to encourage someone helping out their friend's son by putting them on, really we know that we need to understand how suitable somebody is to a role, and the more suitable they are, the more likely they're doing it for intrinsic reasons. The more likely they do it for intrinsic reasons, the more likely they are in sticking it out. And sticking it out when times get tough as well, because they're motivated by something other than somebody else. If anyone's got any questions, please type them in the box. Any questions, comments? We're really keen to hear them.
We're going to move into the resume builder now, Danielle, one of the tools for candidates for jobs or people looking for work. So when you think about the process, they might go through and do the career quiz, find out a bit more about themselves in the job fit test, look at the information that's provided, as you mentioned, from over 350 types of jobs on Skillsroad. They can find out information about the types of jobs that are being recommended for them. They then might need some help in building a resume to actually apply for the roles that are existing and that might be on the jobs board for our employers that are using the jobs board. So take us through what's involved in that one.
So the resume builder really, does what it says on the tin. It allows young people to build a resume. And I think it's important for staff to know about this, because if you do have somebody that leaves an apprenticeship, feeding them back into Skillsroad is also really important. So feeding them back into getting them to complete their resume, maybe redoing the career quiz or the job fit test, or looking for jobs on the jobs board will enable that cycle to continue. The other tool we have is for employers, and this is not on Skillsroad, but it is on the ASA website. And again, it's just about letting you know what tools are available, and this is the Recruitment Ready tool. So again, we know a huge part of having young people complete is the quality of the employer, and the employer willing to invest in coaching and mentoring and working with that young person. So there is a Recruitment Ready tool on the ASA website that gives employers guidelines as to how ready they are to put an apprentice or a trainee on. And not only gives them guidelines, but if we find out, or if they complete the tool and they have quite a low percentage score, it will channel them again, like the job fit test does, into things that they can do before they might hire someone. So again, we're just trying to think differently and make sure employers are well informed about what it means to put on an apprentice or a trainee, and also that they're ready to do it and they have the resources available.
So again, Danielle, another excellent tool for our employers to use, which is a free service for them. So they're all value adds to what we're offering to employers every day when we're signing up apprentices and trainees, or when we're working with employers who may be struggling to find candidates. Then Skillsroad, as well as these Recruitment Ready tools, can be a great resource for them that we're offering free of charge. And when you think about, what makes us different to our competitors, these are the sorts of things we should be mentioning to employers. These are the sorts of things we should be promoting to candidates for apprenticeships and traineeships, so that they're well informed and they can make good decisions.
And James, we talked about it before briefly, but the other tool on there is the jobs board. As you can see, this was just from about 6 weeks ago. So we had over 12,000 applications. This has gone up from now. And there was over 2,000 jobs listed by employers. Almost 7,000 members applied for one or more jobs on Skillsroad website, and around 5.78 applications per job since the launch. And these figures are important because it shows a level of engagement with the jobs board and engagement with our youth, particularly the ones, the members on Skillsroad.
Thanks, Danielle. I mean, that great information about the jobs board. Once again, being aware that this is a free service for our employers to engage with the jobs board. And if we think about the flow of the 130,000 people that have become members on Skillsroad that will pass through the tests and be recommended to look in certain key areas, if we can do all we can to promote the jobs board, get our employers using the jobs board, then that's going to end up with better outcomes for people who are more informed as they work their way through. So couldn't encourage you more than to advise your employers about the jobs board, because it is another key difference that makes us different as part of our free service to employers.
Julie and I think Sue Ann has a question.
So the question we've got from Sue Ann is, when we receive a cancellation notification, can an email be sent to them with links to Skillsroad and other options such as linking them to ACA?
That sounds like a really good idea to me, Sue-Ann. I'm sure it can happen. Definitely, if we are getting a cancellation, we want to be able to capture those candidates so that we don't lose sight of them. From a procedural perspective, we might just have to dig on into how we do that. But I know that ACA is always going to be looking for candidates. It's a good way of linking people who may have be coming out of the system and getting them back in. So we're capitalising on that. So we'll take that question and we'll be back to you on where we can take that from a procedural perspective. Thank you. Any other questions, please keep sending them through.
And I guess part of this as well is just letting people know what's available on there. So even if that can't happen or even if that doesn't happen yet, making sure where possible we can encourage everybody to make that link themselves. The next part is induction tools. So obviously recruiting the right candidate into the right role with the right employer is critical, but equally so is inducting them. And one of the most successful tools that we've had on the website is what we call our ways of working agreement. So again, knowing that most apprentices quit because of interpersonal relationships or not liking the career, our ways of working agreement is a 2-page document where we get the employer to sit down on day one with their apprentice or trainee, and this is not to be confused with a War or Peace novel, a code of ethics or anything like that, but to literally sit down and go through what the employer expects of the apprentice or trainee with regard to start and finish times, weekend work, sick days, rules around mobile phone, rules around dress code, rules around lunch, manners, behaviour, language, whatever they see fit as the hygiene factors and the really key and critical factors that's going to make sure this person is successful in that role. But it identifies all the expectations very early on. And there's gaps in this document because every business is different. So they sit down and they work it out together. Then on the other page, there's a section where the apprentice or trainee or employee can share their expectations of the employer. And again, they fill it all out. At the end of the conversation, where all the expectations are laid out clearly, both parties sign the form. And this has been really, really successful in so many businesses because it also forms the basis of a performance management conversation. So if you've agreed that start time is 7 a.m. every morning, and then that person stops showing up at 7 a.m., this is when you pull out this piece of paper again and you say, okay, we need to revisit this because this is what we've agreed, what's not working. And therefore it takes a lot of the emotion out of these conversations and becomes a very factual talking point. And we've had a lot of employers who have said this has really been successful for them and they can tailor it specifically to what they need in their business. On the Skillsroad website, this is just one of the induction tools we have. We also have a toolkit on best practice induction. So typically when we ask employers who invests in induction for their apprentices and trainees, unless you're a larger company, most people say they do not. So here we've got a step-by-step guide on what induction looks like for small to medium businesses. And we've also got tip sheets on how they can engage their staff. So if you've got a few red flags or you're not sure or you haven't worked with a client before, or you don't know what they do for induction, either print this off for them or encourage them to print it off and view these things and use this once they sign somebody up and start that induction process going.
Sounds like another great tool there, Danielle, for our employers to use. And another key difference if we're seeing employers in that situation where they haven't got well-developed induction processes, this could be a really good place for them to start. And again, it's a free service and something that you can be offering to employers when you are seeing that they're new to recruiting apprentices or trainees, or that someone new has started within the business and isn't quite across what the processes should be. This could be something that you suggest as an offer. Again, it's free. They can take it or leave it, but it's definitely there for them to use. So another great resource.
The final part for you on Skillsroad that you can share with your employees is around coaching and mentoring tools. And it's important to note that roughly about 29% of the workforce in general are engaged. So this means they go to work, they feel committed and connected to what they do. 56% are disengaged and 16% are actively disengaged. This means they're looking for other opportunities. We know that while apprentices and trainees sometimes they're given a really hard time about their work ethic, research has shown that just by having one regular meeting between the apprentice and their manager every week doubles their engagement level. So we're really trying to get employers to think differently about coaching and mentoring, to really believe and buy in to the fact that with good coaching and good mentoring, we can improve retention. We can iron out issues before they come huge issues, and we can build relationships. So on the website, we have tips for goal setting, because we know goal setting is really effective and important when it comes to long-term retention. We've got tips and guidelines on performance management, building relationships, and also termination. Equally, it's also really important to understand the role that our mentors play. And when we started the initial mentoring project from 2013 to 2015, we had some fantastic figures where the mentors, the people that the mentors actually invested in mentoring had a completion rate of up to 90% for that program. Now that wasn't for their contract because the program only ran for 2 years, but the people that were mentored stayed with their employers because of the investment in coaching and mentoring. With young people today, they are more likely to take a role where they're guaranteed coaching and mentoring than they are over other factors. So it's important that employers understand the role that building relationships and coaching and mentoring has with young people in the workplace.
It's a really good point, Danielle. I mean, the other area that we do need to focus on is our mentoring, our responsibility that we have to engage with a certain percentage of our apprentices and trainees who are completing that. We have our mentors engaging with them, but rest assured, if you actually see an apprentice or a trainee that is having a few problems and could do with some mentoring, that the mentoring teams are there to support you, and you just need to flag it with them for them to get involved and to take on some more of a physical mentoring approach with your apprentices or your trainees. And these tools are there to help employers to actually make sure that we are really mentoring is key, and the information is there for you to give to the employers to help them in doing their job.
We have really taken you through a high-level Skills 101, Skillsroad 101 overview today, and really just tried to take you on the journey of some of the key tools that hopefully you can use, but also you can guide towards your employers to use and get them to start thinking about recruitment differently, start using the job board, thinking about what induction tools you can give to your employees to help with that, and again, the coaching and mentoring tools. And as James said, when you're starting to see or you hear that there's a bit of a red flag or something's not working, picking up the phone or contacting our mentors so that they can be part of the process as well. Before we close off and James finishes, we're really interested to know what tools you're most likely to use. What stood out for you today? Because again, the more information we can have from you, the more we can continue to invest in developing these tools. And ideally, we're here to help you. So please let us know how we can help.
So it's looking quite even there between the job fit test and the induction tools, the jobs board as well. Good to see those results coming in. So
Wow, this is a fantastic comment. I had an employer ring me today who advertised on Skillsroad, and now they're doing the sign up next week. Fantastic.
That's come through from Annalise up on the North Coast. Thanks, Annalise. That's a great story. Yeah, definitely one of the takeouts from today is that Skillsroad's it's an awesome gathering of information, if you like, on that website, not only for apprentices and trainees, for school leavers, for kids who are having a bit of a struggle in knowing what they have to do next and what the steps they should take, to encourage school leavers to dig a little bit deeper into themselves and find out what it is that might make them happy in their work life, and not just maybe being guided by mum or dad, but actually have a bit of a dig around to see what it is that they like. It's a great service for employers. We know that a lot of our businesses are small to medium businesses who don't have well-developed recruitment processes and departments to manage recruitment, and where we can get involved in a system with the tests that have been developed over time by Danielle and the team in coming up with real science-based tests That's something that's really great that we can offer to employers, and we should be offering it every day because it can help them to make the process easier. And as we know, if we can make the process easier, there's more chance they'll take more apprentices on, and they'll recommend us to their friends and their families and other people in the space. So yeah, just for everyone to be aware, there is going to be a survey that's going to be conducted. It's called a Youth Census 2017, and those of you who are have dialed in today, come in today, you'll get a link that we encourage that you promote to anyone that you know that should complete the Youth Census survey. It's going to give us a raft of information about youth, about what makes people make decisions that they do in the early parts of their lives. And the more information we have, the more we can continue to build Skillsroad to make it a great service for all of our employers nationally to engage with. Our role every day when we're meeting with employers is to promote Skillsroad. It is one of our key competitive advantages, and it is much better than what's available by our competitors in the market. And if our employers aren't using it, they should be using it. But also, we all know people who are sitting on the couch, younger people who might not know what to do next. They get into that funk where we don't know where to go from here. Recommend them to have a look at skillsroad.com.au and to actually start to do a bit of testing. Have a look at the jobs that are available. There's a big push on there to actually make sure that the job information will be the jobs of the future, so that people aren't developing skills that won't be needed, but that they're likely to get a job at the end of it. And when we're promoting apprenticeships and traineeships, knowing that there's a higher likelihood that people will end up earning more when they're finishing an apprenticeship than if they were to go down the university path. So there's lots of good reasons to dig into Skillsroad, understand that it is a key competitive advantage of ours. It does make a difference in the market. 130,000 people are using it now, and if you haven't sat down and spent a good 5 to 10 minutes on Skillsroad yourself, dug around with what's in there, please make that an action item for you to actually do that next, because it's really important that you understand it. It's important that you promote it. We want to see the numbers increasing and to get more people engaged, and the more information we get through the survey that we'll get coming out in the next month or so will help inform us further. Key part is to get more jobs. We definitely need more jobs to be on Skillsroad, so that when we've got these candidates passing through, that we've got somewhere for them to apply and jobs to apply for. I know we've gone a little bit over time now. I wouldn't want to wrap up without saying thanks to Danielle for dedicating the time today. Danielle, the work you've done with Skillsroad, you and the marketing team have done a fantastic job, and they give us something really credible to promote out there in the market. And each of every one of us that are involved from an employer perspective and working with apprentices, know you've got a great resource there. And please keep the questions coming. If we can't get back to you this afternoon, we'll definitely be back to you after the webinar. Thanks for taking part in it. Thanks to Danielle and Julian for helping make it work. And yeah, if you do send through questions, we'll come back to you after that. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.